Breaking news! The Detroit Lions just made a move that has everyone intrigued, but in a good way. Out of nowhere, the Lions pulled a surprising name out of the shadows, a name no one expected to hear this late in the offseason. Imagine attending a rookie minicamp, expecting to see new college talent competing for a shot at the NFL, and instead finding a veteran defensive tackle in the mix. That's exactly what happened in Detroit, and it could have major implications for the defensive depth chart. I'll tell you all the details in a moment. But first, make sure you've hit the like button if you believe the Lions have the ability to make it to Super Bowl 60. If possible, write something like, "Go Lions! I believe in the Super Bowl." Man, I know it's possible. I can already taste this achievement. Now, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell need to work hard to keep this team in line all season long. Well, I need to tell you a few things. Let's get right to it. During rookie minicamp, a time typically reserved for newly drafted rookies and undrafted free agents looking to find a place, the Detroit Lions made an unconventional move. They signed 27 or 28-year-old defensive tackle Rayquan Williams. Yes, you heard that right. Not a rookie, but a seasoned player, a name fans may vaguely remember from his days wearing number 99 at Michigan State. Williams went undrafted in 2020 but signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, bouncing between teams like the Panthers and Jets afterward. While he never quite secured a full-time role in the league, he's always been on the edge. And now, he's back, determined to revive his career in Detroit. This isn't a guy being handed a spot on the 53-man roster, not yet, but he's being given a chance. And in a room where depth has been a concern, that's no small opportunity. The Lions have been walking a tightrope on the defensive line for some time now. They used a first-round pick on a defensive lineman, which shows they know it's a priority. Alan McNeil has dealt with injuries, and some previous draft picks haven't lived up to expectations. Add to that an aging interior line, and you start to understand why someone like Williams, who brings both age and some experience, might suddenly be seen as valuable. Now, let's be real, Rayquan Williams isn't about to transform into a Pro Bowler overnight or lead the Lions to a Super Bowl. That's not what this move is about. This is about potential. This is about insurance. It's about building depth and having options when the season starts grinding players down. Williams might land on the practice squad, but in a system like Detroit's, where depth pieces often earn real opportunities, he could get a shot at game action. And speaking of potential and future stars, we need to talk about the jaw-dropping talent that's already locked in on this Lions team. Pro Football Focus just dropped their list of the top 25 players under 25 entering the 2025 season, and who's sitting comfortably at the top? Penei Sewell. This guy is a freak of nature. Over 4,500 snaps and still going strong. He's not just one of the best young players in the NFL, he's already one of the best, period. He was drafted during the weird COVID year at just 20 years old, and now, approaching 25, he's still climbing. But he's not the only Lion on that list. Slide down to the top 10 and boom, there's Brian Branch. And let me tell you, Brian Branch is more than just a name on a list. According to Detroit's own defensive coordinators, Branch is the glue of the defense. The guy can match up with literally anyone, tight ends, slot receivers, even running backs motioning out of the backfield. That's why the Lions play man coverage so aggressively. When you've got Branch, your playbook opens wide. He's the secret sauce of the defense, a Swiss Army knife who lets the Lions stay unpredictable. Now pivot to the offense. If you want to see the kind of explosiveness this team brings, go rewatch Jahmyr Gibbs' highlights. The dude was electric. We saw it when David Montgomery was banged up. Gibbs would turn a routine run into a 30-yard explosion. He's that good. Not just moving the chains, he's breaking the game open. And while we're here, don't forget about Sam Laporta. Yes, his 2024 numbers might suggest a slight dip, but regression doesn't really capture the situation. He was still elite when used. The ball just had to be spread around. Between Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and a few others like Tim Patrick and Gibbs, someone was always going to have a quieter week. Laporta didn't fall off, he just didn't get the same number of touches every game. Still, he ranks 4th at his position overall and 5th in Lions PFF WAR since 2003. That's elite company. You put it all together, Sewell, Gibbs, St. Brown, Laporta, Branch, and you realize something. 5 of the 11 starters on offense are players you can't just replace. You can't draft a guy like St. Brown every year. You can't find another Gibbs on the free agent market. They're one of a kind. And somehow, they're all wearing Honolulu blue. So when you think about this Rayquan Williams signing, it's not just a flyer. It's a window into how the Lions are thinking right now. They're not playing it safe. They're leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of greatness. But what do you think? Could Rayquan Williams actually earn a spot on the 53-man roster and contribute during the season? Or is this just a long-shot training camp body? Let me know in the comments, and when you're ready, I'll bring you the second part of this story. The Rayquan Williams signing might not dominate national headlines, but inside Allen Park, it represents something deeper. This move highlights a clear strategy from Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. They are relentless in finding talent, wherever it may be hiding. And Williams is just one example of how this front office refuses to let any potential piece slip through the cracks. You've got a guy who spent years bouncing around practice squads, never quite sticking, yet still grinding, still staying in shape, still chasing the dream. That kind of hunger doesn't go unnoticed in Detroit. We're not talking about a flashy draft pick or a big free agent splash. We're talking about a player who fits the mold of what Campbell preaches every day: grit, resilience, and readiness to punch someone in the mouth on Sundays. And while this is unfolding, let's not ignore the bigger picture. The Lions are building something rare, a roster where the foundation is not just strong, but borderline unshakable. Think about this for a moment. If one of your biggest concerns going into training camp is whether a veteran DT from Michigan State might be your next depth solution, that tells you something about how far this franchise has come. Because on the other side of the ball, we're looking at a unit stacked with players who can flat out dominate. Jahmyr Gibbs is more than just a home run hitter. He's a back who forces defensive coordinators to lose sleep. Remember those moments late last season when Montgomery was out and Gibbs was asked to carry the load? He didn't just hold his own, he thrived. He made defenses look silly. His vision, his acceleration, his ability to change direction at full speed, it's rare. When you watch Gibbs run, you're not just seeing stats, you're seeing stress for the other team. And when you pair that with a guy like Penei Sewell anchoring your offensive line, you realize the Lions are not just good for now, they're built for the long haul. Sewell has already logged more snaps than anyone else in the PFF top 25 under 25. That's insane. It speaks to his durability, his work ethic, and his dominance. This is a guy who's going to be an All-Pro for years, and he's still not even 25. Then there's Brian Branch. Again, this guy might be the most versatile defender in the league right now. That's not hyperbole. How many players can you line up against tight ends, slot receivers, and running backs, and trust they'll win their matchup? It's a short list, and Branch is on it. The ability to go man-to-man with that level of confidence is exactly why the Lions are daring enough to play aggressive man coverage more than almost any team in the league. And the beauty of it is that Branch is just getting started. If last year was his coming-out party, this year could be his takeover. But let's also give credit to the depth that's been built across the roster. Sam Laporta had a quieter second half of the season, but that wasn't about regression, it was about opportunity. With so many mouths to feed, sometimes a guy like Laporta ends up with just 2 targets in a game. Yet when the moment calls for him, he delivers. And when you hit on that many key picks in such a short span, you start asking a new question. How high is the ceiling for this team? But let's bring it back to Rayquan Williams one more time. In a room full of high-flying stars, he's the underdog, the guy who just wants another shot. And maybe, just maybe, he's the type of player that gives this roster the edge in the trenches when depth is tested late in the season. So what do you think? Does this kind of move show that the Lions are preparing for a deep playoff run by shoring up even the bottom of the roster? Or is it just another camp body passing through? Let us know your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out the next video on screen, because there's a lot more Lions coverage coming your way. Go Lions!